The Male Loneliness Epidemic. This episode is about the male loneliness epidemic. I keep coming back to that and sort of face palming. Like, really? This? Do we really need another entry into this particular saga? And what bothers me the most isn't even the topic. It's that everyone seems a little psycho about it. It's either the most urgent crisis of our time or it's just a giant joke and there's just not a lot happening in between. And look, I get why it's annoying to even bring up. Globally, men own $105 trillion more wealth than women. Women make up 56% of all people living in poverty in the US. Nearly a quarter of unmarried mothers live below the poverty line. Women are more likely to live in poverty than men at every age from 5 onwards. Men have somehow, in all of this, now found a way to be the ones who need our attention right now. It's honestly kind of amazing what a move that is. I talked to a lot of men about male loneliness for about a month. And I started noticing patterns about how people reference the male loneliness epidemic everywhere. Memes, jokes between friends, offhand remarks I would just have laughed at before were landing really differently. My friend Gabe put it well.
I don't know why I'm joking. Maybe this is making me a little uncomfortable to talk about because it's real. But people make fun of it because it's easy to make fun of and because it is sometimes really funny.
But that's the thing. The joke is often the only door in. You can't walk up to it directly. You come at it sideways. When they're joking, they want you to cry. And when you start to cry, they want you to laugh. This episode was supposed to be about the male loneliness epidemic, but as I was talking to everyone, it shifted. It became less about the epidemic and more about how men feel about the idea of it. It became about what men do with their pain, how they avoid it, how they enshrine it to avoid facing it. I want to say upfront that creating this episode was a super daunting task. I tried my best to include as many diverse voices as I could with the time and resources I have. I am not an authority on this. I just have a lot of curiosity and a little compassion. I sent out 2 questions to a bunch of men in my life. The first is, what is your relationship to male loneliness? And then the second was, why do you think people make a joke out of the epidemic? I got back a pretty wide range of answers. Oscar is a friend of mine in New York.
I've spent a lot of my life alone in various ways. I'm an only child, and my mom works. So I was alone a lot at home after school and stuff. And then I think, I'm used to it. I don't always dislike it. I need a lot of alone time, actually. But then there are times when I don't want that, and I'm not sure how to, reach out or go about things a different way, rather than just accepting it, or trying to look inward for answers. Because ultimately, when you're feeling lonely, there's only so much you can do inward. I think you kind of got to get around people at a certain point. Now I'm a pretty social person, and I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of acquaintances. But that can often be kind of surface level. I feel lucky that a lot of my friendships are not just surface level, and I feel able to talk openly with people about things. But there are times like when I was bartending, when I was out all the time and just seeing all these people who are out and about, and it was like, what was it all for? And those are the times that I felt the most lonely, I think, in life even. I think mainly it's thought of as a right-wing talking point in some ways, especially when we look at where the gender discourse is in general these days. like if Andrew Tate is talking about being lonely, you're like, stop being a douchebag. And that's what I think a lot of the takes I've seen online have been about this idea. But I do think that there's some validity to it, because I think that men are taught to be self-sufficient at all costs. And a lot of messaging in our culture is built around that.
Gabe is a friend of mine in Portland, Oregon.
It feels weird to slap a gender on something like loneliness, which seems to me like a kind of universal human encounter. But as a male, I do feel that and of course I count myself among this cohort, but I think we have an outsized expectation of what the world is going to provide for us, aka entitlement. And the least lonely people I know, men, women, and everything in between, are very curious about the world around them, which is something that I think men struggle to be. I struggle to be. And so are never really lonely, or maybe they do get lonely, but even their loneliness has the texture of like opportunity.
Ash is a friend living in LA.
Once I had sort of gotten deep enough into my transition and started to realize that I was being perceived as a dude, like out in the world on the streets, and starting to see how people started to react to me differently, was really disorienting and fascinating. You almost feel like a double agent, because you're learning how people react so differently based on gender to what they see going on. And I was in Santa Barbara with a friend of mine who's super sweet and really femme and really short. So we looked like kind of a straight cis couple. We were like walking my dog around Santa Barbara, and there was this other couple who kind of came up to us, and my dog's like mad cute, so they were like trying to talk to us. And I remember standing there next to her, and the woman and the couple that was approaching us like lined up right in front of my friend Roz, and kind of, started talking to her, and it just became really clear to me that she didn't think I was gonna engage. Like, she didn't think I was gonna talk. Like, she thought I was gonna be a, kind of that sullen boyfriend, kind of just sitting there waiting until we could go. And instead, I was like, friendly and effusive, and you could. She changed her posture. She didn't like kind of opened up to me as she kind of discovered me to be something that she didn't really anticipate. It's easier to laugh at something that you're scared of than to face it, and I think it's pretty scary. And it's sort of a comorbidity with the general loneliness epidemic. And so to laugh at it is sort of, there's a cruelty there in that impulse, and also sort of, I think, a desire to distance oneself from perhaps acknowledging that all of us are experiencing similar things or facing similar troubles in some way. And it feels kind of like a profoundly antisocial, kind of uncompassionate way to think about experiences of other people.
Dan sent me a voice note from the UK.
I was sent away to boarding school, as were a lot of people, in my generation. I was sent away to boarding school at the age of 7 in 1977. I think the idea of loneliness really set in those first few years of being sent away at 7. You wouldn't want to have been seen crying as a young boy, because that would have exposed some sort of weakness. So right from that early age, one was having installed or trained into oneself that alienation from emotion, alienation of expression of emotion. And I think there's so much of loneliness tied up in that. That really feeling alone amongst people amongst people you couldn't get away from, when actually really you're longing to be at home with one's parents, my parents. One thing I find that has made me very lonely in the past, very frustrated in the past and alienated in the past and confused in the past is not quite knowing what is expected from masculinity, in the sense that I think we're at a threshold at the moment whereby there is a requirement, and quite rightly so, for the masculine or for men to take more emotional responsibility, or to have more emotional literacy, or to just feel more, would be a simpler way of putting it. There's a requirement and a necessity for that, and quite rightly so. But there isn't, but when I think one does that and one goes through the process of opening up to that, one feels encouraged on one level, but actually discouraged on another. It's like, but it's still not regarded as particularly masculine to be too emotionally free or too needy or too so in inverted commas, in process. So whilst and I'm very aware that this is just the reflection of an inner confusion, an inner process, but what it feels like from the outside is, whilst society is requiring this or encouraging this, way to go, brother, talk to your brothers and kind of like, just be with your emotions and share them. On the other hand, it's a bit of a push me pull you thing, because there isn't actually, it's like, oh, well, yeah, but we didn't quite mean it like that. And then you're kind of like, oh gosh, what have I done? Have I kind of like gone too far with this? And I think for me, and again, this is only my personal experience, obviously, for me, I believe that sort of joking about male loneliness and trivializing of it, and it's as if men are getting what was coming to them, and thank God for that sort of thing. That sort of attitude I only see online, and when I see something like that online, it screams projection, it screams dissociation, and online is just like a magnet for that. But I never have yet, and I'm sure there are instances, and I'm not discrediting anybody who has, but personally, I've never felt that vibe in real life, outside of a virtual context.
I don't know. I'm just like Lily's friend, and I like the podcast, and I begged to be on, and I'm here.
Oh my God. No, I begged Alan to be on it. Alan's a philosopher.
My friend Alan is a thinker. We recorded at 8 Ball, a community radio space in New York where Alan is very tapped in.
Yeah, I'm one of the thinkers. They call me Big Thinker over here.
He needed his lighter before we could begin.
Which I think is probably one of the more favorite. Where's my lighter? Oh my God. I can't talk racial philosophy without my lighter.
Alan grew up in South Carolina, in a house with 8 people. He said he didn't feel real loneliness until he went to college in Columbia, South Carolina.
True loneliness, or those like small and little bits of loneliness you get? Like true loneliness to my core, I didn't feel it until I was like an adult.
Yeah, true loneliness. When was your first sip of true loneliness?
Oh, I was like fully like in college, and like that was like the first time I felt lonely, when I was just like away from everybody.
From your family.
Yeah. So I would say it was like one night, like towards like, I don't think like a similar space that I am now. It was like a first semester, like getting towards like a stressful set of like midterms, really wondering what I was going to do, and then sort of like not being able to like have anybody to really reach out to at that point. Like I also didn't have like friends there at that point yet. I was still like figuring out what I was going to do and when. So I would say like yeah, I felt this like it'd be like one night like right before midterms. I felt this like deep kind of like I get this feeling now sometimes. I wouldn't call it like loneliness. It's like just like a depressive state sometimes. Where I get this like iceness in my chest.
Mm.
I get this like I almost feel like I'm like freezing over at my core sometimes. I just found community in the end. I just like found a place where I could like engage with like a system and a structure that I enjoyed and like worked for me.
That's cool. I bet that felt great.
It did at the time. It did.
Alan has a theory about who the epidemic actually affects.
I think it's sort of like the same way that like Western suicide is like mostly like a white person thing. Like black people really don't commit suicide like that. That's like a really uncommon thing for us. And I think it's because of like the way we interact and engage with like this shared environment is like so different. Like I feel like you see like the loneliness. You do see it in like Asian men and like a little bit as well. But even like Latin men don't really seem to like suffer from it as much. Like the Latin men I worked with have never once talked to me about being lonely. It's the idea of some of the Dominican men I work with expressing the idea of loneliness to me is like laughable on its face. Like that's just not happening. I don't think I'm sure they experienced like the feeling of loneliness, but like what like this like R9K like male incel loneliness epidemic thing we're like talking about, like that's like so far from their like experience and psyche.
Why do you think that is?
I really think it's like part to like that nuclear family thing again. I think like if like all of your boundaries are like being broken and are like more like blurry from the start, because like the nuclear family thing is like that's the newer thing. Like the thing my family did is like the thing from like the past. Like everybody was just always growing up with like granddad and uncle and stuff in the family the entire time. That's how like every other culture's always done it. So because of that, like you're just like getting hit with like so much different energy, and it's like not as like structured as like this like super like parental like sort of like guiding thing. It you end up being a lot more like flexible with your like your dynamics and relationships, like and the way you are able to like experience relationships and friendships and like go about like seeking them, kind of like it's not like seeking like a community isn't a thing that can only benefit you. You also have to benefit it.
Kempo Sonam is a Tibetan Buddhist teacher, originally from Bhutan, who now lives in LA. I asked him whether he had ever personally felt lonely.
Let me see if I felt lonely. Not really, but because, in my life I've been quite fortunate. I've been always surrounded by people, good people, and then so they have helped me, and also, I practice Dharma, so Dharma kind of solves that problem. Otherwise, without Dharma, I think I can feel that it will be much more painful. As I stated earlier, like when we learn to be caring about others, then as we grow, it's not necessarily that we will suffer only when we are too old. We can suffer from even when we are like middle age or even as a teenager to suffer that. So Dharma is to think of everyone and then to share your love and happiness, and at the same time have compassion for those who have suffering, who are going through pain and misery and so forth. And then you do like taking on their suffering onto your own experience and then dissolving into great compassion. So those kind of things. I think I've been a little fortunate, because I'm just trying to reflect, have I suffered from loneliness? I don't think so.
And then, when I asked him why people make fun of the epidemic, he said something that speaks directly to what Alan is describing.
So in the Asian, or from my point of view, we don't really kind of make fun of it, because we know that if someone is suffering from loneliness, then that's pain and misery for that person who is experiencing it.
Yeah.
So then you wouldn't laugh at someone's pain and suffering. But here, I think in the West, because people just make fun of those. Because in the West, it's kind of sad, because from the very young age we are taught to be we are taught to be like tough, to learn to be tough and to be independent and so forth. And then we show them a lot of, like, how would you say, like goals, or goals, or some kind of aim that they have great ambition and great hope, and then they work toward it, and then they're not really taught to be selfless, or to be kind and caring and to consider other people's feeling and so forth. So
I kept thinking about Alan and Kempo together. They've never met, they're coming at this from completely different places, but they keep landing in the same spot. That loneliness isn't really about being alone. It's about whether you ever learned to reach outside yourself. Alan also had a theory about narcissism.
Yeah, I think there's like an inherent narcissism there. Like
Yeah.
to be lonely inherently, I think is kind of narcissistic. Like you have to separate yourself from everybody else to be lonely. Loneliness is a feeling that can only be held by one person at a time. We can't feel lonely together. We can feel happy together. We can feel mad together. We can feel sad together. We can't feel lonely together. Boys don't be outside. And I think here's a huge part of it. I think that like most men can't interact with women like normal style. So as a result, they end up cutting off like 50% of the world from ever being their friend.
He told me about a guy he used to watch at the bar he worked at in South Carolina.
See this one guy come in. He would just come in and he would just like watch this one homegirl of mine, Jessica. He just like watch her. Just go back and forth, back and forth, back. That's all he would ever do all night. It's like ignoring also everybody else in the room. Like there's other people, there's other girls coming in. It's like people are in and out. Like, but he's just watching Jessica go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. At one point, we talked to homie at some point. We're like, dude, what's up? You're just like staring at it, like he's drinking and shit. But like you're just staring at it, like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And he's like, and he like tries to talk to her for a second. I guess because we kind of put him on the spot. It's kind of bullying, if I'm being honest. Like imagine you've been like watching a girl all night, and then like two drunk dudes come up to you, like they're like, so we're gonna talk there.
I mean, sounds like you might have been acting as his angel guide at that time.
Well, he did not go through with it. It did not work out for me.
Okay, so he went up to her and tried to talk to her. And
yeah, and he just like, no, he was like too drunk. He'd been like drinking heavy the entire night, just like in the corner, just like downing
Wait, that's
drinks.
so sad. So he was just like sitting there looking at this girl, and he couldn't. And then he got too drunk because he was feeling too sorry for himself, and he couldn't even talk to her.
Yeah, and the worst part, he's also like people. There are like single girls sitting all throughout the bar the entire time. People are getting like picked up. Like it's like South Carolina, like early 2010s.
Dating city.
I asked Alan why people make fun of the epidemic.
Oh, because I think they did it to themselves. Like it kind of like they earned it the hard way. Like white men really earned it the hard way. Like it's fucking like they fucking declared war on Iran. They're fucking like pedophiles. Like white men are just like mostly pedophiles culturally, it seems. Like their entire society, like the biggest white men in the world, the most powerful white men are all pedophiles. So that's like their culture. And it's so I really think it's really like you earned it the hard way, homie. Like I'm sorry. Like people reached out their hand to you time and time again. And you like batted it away. And now it's like, oh, like sucks to suck, I guess.
I asked what the actual cure was.
If I were to honestly say what I would want them to do to make my life better, it's kill yourself.
Oh my God, Alan.
The anger toward this group is genuine and comes from somewhere and just doesn't disappear because the loneliness is also genuine. Both things are true at the same time.
Like there is like a narcissism of like you think you're the best, and there's a narcissism of also you think you're the worst. And both of them are extremely annoying to be around at any point in time.
His actual prescription was considerably more constructive.
I think they should go the fuck outside. I think they should just like. I think you should never not be like. I think you should, yeah, you just have to like be on your stoop like most days. You have to like go to a bar a bunch. You have to talk to strangers all the time. You have to probably read books written by women, I would say. Especially for the man, that's probably what they got to do. It sucks. It doesn't suck. Their books are pretty good, to be honest. But
Then we got a call in.
Oh, one sec, I'm getting a call.
You're rocking with the best.
You've reached the voicemail box of the Lily Friend Project.
This is one DJ you don't want to f with.
Go ahead and
Here. Yo, what's up? Bring that one back from the top.
Okay, we have a call in.
you have a call in?
Do you wanna?
Yeah.
I'm in a bad girl. I've been careless with a delicate man. And it's a sad, sad world. When a girl will break a boy just because she can. Don't you tell me to deny it. I done wrong and I want to suffer for my sins.
Okay.
Okay.
I think. What? Wait, what'd you say?
I'm nothing. Honestly, yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I'm pretty gagged too. I never really would have, when I began this hotline, would have anticipated such an entry.
Sorry, is that an EP? Is that like a demo?
I have no idea what that was.
Like, should we interpret the song?
Yeah, what do you think the song is getting at? Like, what do you think that was? Like, what did we just listen to?
I thought it was like a Lana Del Rey song for a minute,
Me too.
but
Sounds like a lot of like power dynamics with
Yeah.
men that this person is the speaker of this poem is grappling with.
I mean, it sounds like they're hurting the man is hurting them, which is
Yeah.
that's what love is. It's how it goes.
Really? You think?
Yeah, like it's okay if she hits on you a little bit. That's love.
Oh my God. That's so. No, I don't. I think I'm putting my foot down on that one.
Will and Alex host a podcast called the Male Loneliness Project. They're both in their late 20s. They live in Brooklyn. They started it drunk at a bar in Ridgewood after Will had been sitting on the name in his notes app for 5 months. I also know that Ridgewood isn't in Brooklyn, it's in Queens, but it's definitely on the border. I found them through a mutual friend who DM'd me on Instagram. His profile was all prosthetic work he'd done as like a special effects artist, and the only photo of him as a person was from an appearance that he'd made on their podcast. When I asked how their podcast started, Alex told me he didn't even initially want his name attached to it.
I don't want to ever have my Instagram say host of the Male Loneliness Project. I don't want to go on a first date and talk to a girl and say I host a podcast called the Male Loneliness Project.
I mean, it's interesting that you didn't want to put that in your bio or tell a first date.
You know, some would say Will and I still feel strange about it at certain points.
Yeah,
in our
I feel
lives.
like it's totally a red flag.
The discomfort with the name feels related to the same discomfort that makes the epidemic a joke in the first place. Like the name itself is almost too earnest to say without apologizing for it.
Because people think that it's serious. Like people think that maybe it's part of the manosphere.
Yes, and it's like, no. Well,
is that it?
That's kind of the hope, is that it's like clickbaity. Like if you encounter it on the internet, you're going to be like, oh, I get it. Like, I know where this is coming from. But then we're kind of weird with it, actually.
Well, it seems like your initial mission, I don't know what your mission is now, but was to just like reach out to people and try to make community, which when we first started this, we were kind of trying to do this. That was like our goal, was like we were like going on Craigslist, we were making posts, we were trying to like organize events. We are low key, we are doing a community event coming up soon. Maybe that will be posted even today. But we've kind of completely abandoned that.
I asked them whether the irony was a coping mechanism, and if being funny about it was the only way in.
I actually don't think it's a coping mechanism. If anything, I think it's like a comforting mechanism for the person I'm talking to. Because when you start talking to a guy and you're like, Male Loneliness Project, he has a podcast about how men feel bad in America. That's a pretty, like, I've been there before. That's not a great, typically that ends badly. So I think talking about these issues, but being able to be like candid and funny and like, I've talked about this stuff before, so I even know how to joke around about it, is a good way to be like, this is not scary.
Like the male loneliness epidemic does seem real from a certain statistical standpoint on certain things. Yet it does seem like you guys you're like, it is a joke that we have a podcast about it, but it also is real, and we do want to address it and talk about this issue.
I mean,
and I'm just like,
we do think it's like, I mean, I am like, it's absurd and crazy. And I feel like, I remember like in high school, like when like Trump won, being like, oh, well, like once these old Trumpers like die out, like then once it's all just like people of my age, like it'll be all good. And now we're seeing like, oh, it's like the young guys who are conservative now are even more evil. They're the most evil breed of like right-wing guys it's ever been. And, and there a lot of people claimed, oh, Trump won because he went on, I mean, there's so many reasons, but like he went on all these podcasts. Like then it became, basically when Will first came up with this idea, it's only gotten more relevant every month as the world has gone on.
And like it's gotten like scarier and like, oh, is that what the internet is?
And
like,
so we don't
right
feel
now?
equipped at all to really dive deep on it. But we are trying a little bit more. And so I think we are just like goofing and fucking around because it's so sad, actually. Like, and I don't know how we fix it really.
My dream, my moral light is that it is kind of like elbowing some room in the conversation that I hope is like rational. Or like, just like, yo, shit is crazy. Like there is some insane loneliness shit going on, but like, don't shoot up a school about it. Like, if anything, it's like creating a space where like men or anyone could talk about this thing, which I feel like is good that is how it solves the Male Loneliness Project. Or the Male Loneliness Epidemic. It's just like, yeah, that is valid and real. And like, if there's a way to talk about it that isn't scary, and that is like a good thing to do. So I think we use humor a lot just to be like, just to kind of like cannonball into that space because it's such an insane place to be and talk about earnestly.
I asked them whether they use irony to talk about their own feelings with each other too. Whether comedy is the only register available to them even privately.
I don't know. I do think men probably in general use irony to talk about their feelings. But I also wouldn't necessarily say that's a bad thing.
I will say,
totally.
I think Will and I both do speak very sincerely with each other, like, about our feelings. And I think, like, as much as we are goofy people, like, I appreciate that in our friendship. I've never said that to my friend Will, but I'm saying it right now, recorded. Yeah.
But also, I don't know, I'm 30. Like, if I can't straight up to my good friend be like, yo, man, shit's, like, terrible right now, I would consider that, like, a problem.
Alex told a story about Will. They had just met, and Will was going through a breakup.
Like, when we became friends, it was the end of a relationship.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of very quickly, like, and I won't get into it too much, but we once went and filmed this, like, short film with our other friends while he was going through a tough time, and he had to be very funny, like, and it was an improvised thing, and I was just watching, like, my friend go from being, like, so, like, playing this crazy guy and being really genuinely funny, and then just, like, 2 minutes later being like, I'm deeply sad. Like, I'm very upset about this. I don't know. And, like, I appreciate that about Will. He's always so just, like, you're not gonna, like, hide your feelings.
I asked them about their listeners, whether they think the people listening are lonely.
Is like, this is a audio podcast that someone can put on to simulate like hanging out with some friends. So we definitely purposely wanted that to happen for Male Loneliness Project, because that's part of the Male Loneliness Project, is that it's
Yes, that is like another
to lonely men. Like, it's aware of that.
I think, and if you're listening to it, inherently, like, you are alone listening to a conversation between two friends. So that is what this is.
I came across this essay by a UVA psychology researcher who was analyzing a Gallup survey that found 25% of young American men between 15 and 35 said that they felt lonely the previous day. In his essay, this researcher said that this is almost certainly an underrepresentation because for men, admitting you're lonely is already a pretty vulnerable thing to do. So the number actually experiencing it is probably higher than the number willing to say so out loud. What I keep seeing, talking to all these men, is that the joke is doing two things at once. It opens a door. Will called it cannonballing into a space that's too absurd to enter earnestly. And he's right. But it also keeps that door from opening all the way. You can come at it sideways, you can make it funny, you can build a whole podcast around the irony of the name, and still not quite arrive anywhere. Gabe said if we don't laugh at it, we have to admit how many people are killed by it. That's the part that stays with me. The joke is both the entry point and the reason no one gets very far. Dan said that the detachment gets trained in early. Kempo said the people making fun of it are probably suffering themselves. They just can't say so. Alan said you have to separate yourself from everybody else to be lonely. All of them, coming from different directions, kept arriving at the same place. The real problem isn't the loneliness. It's that men have found a way to enshrine it, to make it a bit, to make it a meme, to make it something that everyone else struggles with or that other men struggle with somewhere far away, but they would never, ever, ever say they struggle with. And in doing that, hold it at arm's length indefinitely.
When you even see that it's not just you, but everyone else is suffering, then you'd be more kind and gentle toward yourself as well as toward others. And that kind of gives you the strength to endure that situation of loneliness.
This is the Lily Friend Project. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I'd love to give a warm shout out to Noreen Malik for production help and Bridge Gamble for the amazing theme song. I'd also like to thank all of the men who gave me their perspectives, shared so much with me. Thank you to Oscar Hollas, Gabe KS, Ash Doyle, Dan Leek, Alan Kegler, Kempo Sonam, Will Duncan, and Alex Fenty. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Lily's Friend Project.